This is After the Flag. You join us at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, and what a Spielberg thriller is what I hoped I would be saying to you after that Grand Prix. In the end, Pecco Bagnaia was far, far too good. Lewis Suddaby and Simon Crafar will talk you through all of the big issues that came from that Austrian Grand Prix, and there were plenty to come from that, which in the end was dominated once again by Pecco Bagnaia. Simon, a third consecutive Austrian Grand Prix win for him. It's back-to-back doubles in Spielberg. Just too good for Jorge Martin. In fact, too good for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the machine is part to blame. You know, those GP24s are out on their own, aren't they? Especially here at this track, which we expected, you know, from the beginning of the weekend that they would, because they're so good stopping and accelerating. That's what this track is all about. I sat down in the Yamaha hoarding and watched closely and still enjoyed what Pecco was doing, because how he manages to stop that bike, you know, his strong point like this, you know, managing to pass Jorge and pulling it off so well, you know, look, just perfectly. But his braking mark is how he drifts the rear all the way in, you know, which is putting slightly less load on the front, and the way he managed everything the whole way. I was hoping that, like Jorge Martin said to me in Parc Ferme, that Jorge had managed his rear tyre a little bit better, so when they turned those full power maps on at the end, that he would have something more. And Pecco had done the same sort of job, so there was no change. I thought there would be a bit of excitement, and we'll get to Mark later, but I think Mark would have stirred it up and given us something to an hour a bit if he got the start.
You alluded to it a little bit there, but just to expand on it a little bit more about this circuit, that motorcycle, and Pecco.
Exactly.
We know that they're the class of the field in general, but why in particular does this circuit, I guess, exaggerate that advantage?
Well, basically it's three relatively slow corners, first or second gear. Actually, it was first on the KTM when I rode a couple of days ago at all the slow corners, and to stop after a straight for those little slow corners, get it turned, and then accelerate. And I mean, the Ducati engine and rear grip, the way they manage it, is so good. But also Pecco is so good. He came here going, this suits me down to the ground. And journalists said, but you said that Assen suits your style. And he said, that's rushing in. You know, the entry that I love carrying corner speed, but here is managing that braking, and he's so damn good at it. You know, that's what I was enjoying watching him do. And then you put him on the GP24, which has an edge over everything. There's no stopping him. We did wonder whether front tyre temperature, front tyre pressure could be an issue in this race. We saw the same in the sprint yesterday, how keen Pecco Bagnaia was to lead. He didn't want to follow Jorge Martin for too long. And once again, we've seen it. It's been a real feature, I think, of Pecco Bagnaia's 2024 season so far. He is so decisive in the early laps of races. Yes, and Jorge fought him hard for that. They both wanted that clear air on the front tyre. Again, Pecco came out on top. Jorge pretty much admitted in Parc Ferme that Pecco had something extra here. He just did everything so well. You know, I don't think it'll be like that at every race. There'll be Jorge Martin will come back. He's expecting in Asia. I mean, he was very good also in Misano, but when we get to the flyaways, I think Jorge's going to have his turn at doing the same, making it really hard for Pecco, which will mix things up. Yeah, that was it. Just the combination of those things. They weren't following close enough to have a real obvious spike in front tyre temperature, and yeah, so overall it all went to plan for them, maybe not for us as spectators. Behind the top two in the championship, Enea Bastianini in third. We did wonder when he made such a good start and got up to third place whether he could be a factor in the battle for the victory. He wasn't quite in the end. We could hear from our third place finisher now with Matt Burt.
Yeah, another all Ducati GP24 lockout of the podium here in Austria. Third place goes to Enea Bastianini. Enea, you've got to be satisfied. 7th on the grid, very aggressive on the first lap, immediately up into third place after quite a tough Friday and a difficult Saturday to leave here with a podium. You've got to be quite happy with that.
Yes, this weekend for me is not so simple, but today for the race we have I think we have made a bit step on front, and was possible to stay not close to the fastest rider of today, Pecco, but with a good pace to go here on the podium. And I can be satisfied, but my feel during all the weekend wasn't really good. The guys have worked a lot to give me the best bike possible, but at the end was too tricky, and also I have suffered with the tire with the front, and was too soft for me. I've tried the hardest one, but on the left side was a bit tricky, and was better to stay safety, you know.
When we saw you make that great start and that great first lap straight into third place, we were sort of thinking about the time management at the end and thinking, well, if Enea can hang in there, he's going to be fighting for the victory. It didn't quite happen. It just seemed for most of the laps, Pecco and Jorge were sort of 1, 2, 3 tenths quicker than you today. So what was missing, do you feel?
Yeah, I missed the braking point, I think, and also during the weekend we have tried some solution of engine brake, but nothing have worked well for me, for my style, and also today was difficult. I have seen compared these two riders. Was this the point when I lose more time, no, for all the race?
And your teammate, he won 7 races last year. He's already run 7 now this year. He's going to be very, very difficult to stop, isn't he, in the second half of the championship?
Yeah, it's not easy. You know, Pecco is always fast in all the track, and will be not simple to fight with him from here to the end of the championship. But I'm here to try to do it, and we have to work hard to do it.
Some great tracks coming your way. Aragon next, then 2 home races in Misano. We know how strong you've been in the past, Enea, in Aragon. So do you feel in 2 weeks' time you'll be that little bit closer to Pecco and Jorge again?
Yeah, I hope to be close to this guy and fighting for the victory in the next one. Aragon is one of my favorite track, and will be important to fight with him for the championship. And we have a new asphalt also. Let's see how it will be.
Good job again today, and congratulations. We'll see you in Aragon in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Aragon next up on the MotoGP calendar. The last time MotoGP raced there, Enea Bastianini was the winner. Understandably, a lot of us got a little bit carried away when Enea Bastianini won in such incredible fashion, did the double at Silverstone. Was this weekend always going to be one of those races that perhaps favoured Bagnaia more than Enea? And I guess, can he reflect on the result, third place, and be happy with that? Not necessarily happy with the margin to Pecco, but was third always going to be the maximum for him?
Yes, and to be honest, always the maximum. No, when I didn't just get excited because of his Silverstone, I got excited when he got the start today and was in third, and I thought how good he is with the rear tyre. I thought he could, and he was hanging in there. I thought second half of the race he's going to do something, and he didn't. It just shows how well Pecco and Jorge did their job. I think not just Aragon, but Misano. He's been brilliant. Yeah, brilliant at Misano. So the next 3 races, it could be Bagnaia stealing some points back. Excuse me, Enea Bastianini stealing some points back off Bagnaia and Martin.
And he could play a key role in the end for Pecco. If Enea can't win the championship, he could certainly ensure that Pecco Bagnaia wins it if he can take some points away from Jorge Martin. We'll be hearing from the other podium finishers, Jorge Martin and Pecco Bagnaia, very shortly. But as we mentioned, third in the end was the result for Enea Bastianini, helped in part, I guess, down to what happened at the start of the race for Marc Marquez. You alluded to it during the coverage, but just explain to the viewers who might not have noticed what went wrong for him at the start.
Yes, so he first of all, there was something going on with the team. They were running around in a panic. It looked like he got the wrong wheel or the wrong tyre. Maybe it was labelled wrong. And then he pulled up. Look, at the height of the fork. See the amount of gold showing on the fork there? That's fully extended, which means the start device, when he compressed it and tried to engage it, didn't engage. Then a bit of a nasty coming together with poor old Franco Morbidelli again having a hassle at the start. It didn't look like Frankie's fault, meaning he was just holding his position. But look, what I've got to say is the 2 standout rides for me in that were Pecco, because nobody pushed him, so we never really got to find out what he had left. The other two, you knew what they had left because they were trying, meaning the other two on the podium, Jorge and Enea. But Mark was, his lap time, second part of the race, he was fantastic. What a ride.
Yeah, what a ride too from Jorge Martin. Given what he's been through this weekend, a couple of second places is hardly a bad outcome. Let's get his reaction now with Matt.
Yeah, Jorge, I don't think I've seen you fight so hard for 2 second places in a Grand Prix weekend. So close in the sprint yesterday, so close again today in the Grand Prix. What are your overall reflections on a weekend that's had its dramas, it's had its moments, but you leave with 2 second place and still firmly in that championship battle?
I mean, overall, we thought everything that happened during the weekend, I have to be happy, for sure. Anyway, I'm a bit frustrated because I feel we are super strong, that nothing is missing to win races, but still Pecco is doing that result, no? I mean, it's just 5 points. It's not important. The important thing is that if I make a bad result, then it's a second. So for sure this is important. My moment will come. I think we need to change a bit the strategy. He, as you can see, have really good confidence at the beginning of the race with the full tank, and he's able to keep that first position. And I think after 4 laps, if you are in first, you have 90% of the win done. So afterwards, I tried to fight back at the end when my front tire was refreshing a bit, but it was impossible to close that big gap, and I did my best.
You are so close, as you mentioned. Do you feel that is the only kind of real small difference right now, is how good Pecco is in the first 2 or 3 laps with that full fuel tank? You knew how important it was to lead here today. You got to lead briefly, but he was very aggressive, as he knew he would be. Do you feel that that's just where he's got that slight edge at the moment?
I think in terms of speed, we are, I mean, it's really difficult to see the difference. You could see yesterday in qualifying, we are making a difference. Pecco and me, we are a step in front of the rest. Now, you know, as last season, it's difficult to improve. It's difficult because he have my data, I have his data, so it's difficult to make the difference. Today, the difference was to lead into the first 2 laps. He understood it better than me, and I thought I was 10 laps behind, really quite easy, let's say. And from one lap to another one, all that effort was gone because my front said we stop here, no? So yeah, we need to work a little bit better. I think, as I said before, he's not faster than me. I am not faster than him, but we need to, work a bit more on the strategy and understand how to win races.
Just how close you are together is giving us a great championship battle, just like it was in 2023. Jorge, of course, you've had your problems off circuit this weekend. I know you're not going to use it as an excuse to say you were suffering out there in the race, but just have to ask you, because we've seen a lot of TV coverage this weekend of the nasty cut you've got on that left thumb. Was it a problem at all in that race?
No, it wasn't. As you said, for sure I have a lot of painkillers before the race. I have more pain on my butt because of the, I don't know how to say,
the injection
than the thumb itself. So, you know, it's not an excuse. It's one more thing that happened during the weekend that is not helping. But you know, sometimes when you have pain in the body, you are even more focused. So it wasn't a problem.
A chance to fight back in Aragon in 2 weeks' time. How do you think the battle will unfold at that circuit? New surface at Aragon, and of course you've not been there for a couple of years. Looking forward to that challenge?
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward. I really enjoy riding in Aragon, even if it wasn't a nice racetrack for me in MotoGP. In Moto3 and Moto2 I was competitive. So I think we can give it a go, and I will give my 100% as always.
Keep fighting, keep pushing. Jorge, well done.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, he certainly achieved the maximum that was out there for him today, given how strong Pecco Bagnaia was. He's not using what happened to his thumb as an excuse. We did hear him referencing yesterday how much of an issue it could be for a MotoGP rider, given how busy you are, particularly with your fingers and your thumb. Just how big a difference can it make if you've got an injury to your thumb like that?
At least it's not in a position where you're pushing on the bars or trying to hold on, you know. It's just an issue to... They've got like 10, 11 buttons on the left-hand handlebar, so that can be a drama, you know. And he said it was a drama off the line, but I imagine that's probably partly just getting distracted a bit. He didn't let it happen today. The boy's clever. He knows, in that interview, was saying that how clever his opposition is, Pecco, at the technical stuff, getting everything right. So the bike, he knows how he can ride that bike. I've alluded to Pecco reminds me of Wayne Rainey on those first 2 laps, and in more than one way, because Wayne Rainey, I think, was also underestimated, like Pecco, in the early years, and then you realise Wayne was an absolute legend, and I think Pecco's building up for that to make sure everyone knows it. Jorge's clever. He knows that he has to fight back with his head like Pecco does, you know, both technically, but also, just to tell a little story, yesterday's sprint race, this man on your screen we're about to hear from said, I'm going to brake so hard into that chicane that I'm going to force Jorge into a mistake, and he did, you know, and yeah, so Jorge knows what it's going to take to beat him.
A magnificent 7th win of 2024 for Pecco Bagnaia. He's already matched his winning tally from the last 2 respective championship winning seasons. Let's get his reaction now with Matt.
Pecco, I read some comments from you coming into this Austrian Grand Prix weekend where you said you were confident that you'd leave this Grand Prix leading the World Championship. That confidence was very well placed, and you've gone back into P1 in some style. A 1:27 in qualifying, not quite good enough for pole position, but an incredible lap. Brilliant performance to win the sprint, an incredible performance today. The lap times were astonishing. Back in P1 in the championship, another victory here in Spielberg. What a great weekend.
It's incredible. We are continuing in a good direction, honestly. In Silverstone, we just lost the possibility of the win from the condition of the weather, because honestly, it was too cold and was impossible to go with the air front tire. So I was just struggling with the medium. But in any case, happy because we finished third in a very difficult situation, and we arrived here with a lot of motivation to bounce back the results, and win today is fantastic. Win yesterday was fantastic. We just missed the pole position, but the lap times we did this weekend, me and Jorge, are incredible. So I think also the race pace was fantastic.
You're on an incredible level, as Jorge is as well. Of course, you're on the same bikes. He just told us that he feels that the slight, small edge that you have right now is just that confidence to attack in the first 2 or 3 laps when you've got the full fuel tank. We saw you do it yesterday in the sprint. You did the exact same thing today. You knew how important it was to lead. Do you agree with Jorge? That's just where you've got that little advantage at the moment?
I worked a lot to have this kind of feeling on the start with the full fuel tank. We always ride with the full fuel tank, and sometimes it's worse, but sometimes it's helping, because in the race we are already prepared. Wasn't easy. It's always very difficult in this track to overtake, because you break 1 meter after and you are wide. So it was very important to be quite calm and don't do stupid maneuver, but we managed to be perfect, and I just did a little mistakes during the race that I touched the green outside the corner 1, but apart that, everything was perfect.
We certainly didn't see too many mistakes on camera. I suppose one thing that was probably keeping you a little bit concerned, not just the fact that Jorge was very fast behind you, but all race we could see the grey clouds getting closer and closer and closer. I mean, how worried were you about the possibility of rain and the flag to flag?
Before the start, my team said maybe 15 minutes to go, we will have some spit of rain, and they said no, please. And then during the race, 4 or 5 laps to go, I arrived corner 3 and it was black. And they said, fuck, maybe we'll arrive. But then I just, I did all the lap thinking, no, please, no, please, no, please. And then was sunnier again. But also the smell wasn't smelling as a rain. So I was calm.
When you won your first championship in 2022, Pecco, you won 7 races. Last year, you won 7 races. We're only at round 11 in 2024. You've already won 7 races. Plenty of opportunities to break that record. Do you feel that you are now just raising your level, getting better and better race by race?
We are trying to doing it, but honestly, we won 7 races, Jorge 2, but we are just 5 points leading. So. It's clear that we have to improve the sprint because it's where Jorge have done all the difference, and we must have to be more precise like we did this weekend, not commit any more mistakes, and just working like we are doing, because it's too important.
And just finally, before we let you go and celebrate, last year, the boss, Valentino, came to Spielberg, Celestino Vietti, and you won the Grand Prix on Sunday. He's come back again here this year, Valentino, and guess what's happened?
I'm always saying to Vale, you have to come every race. I won't see you every races, but he's busy. With these championships, you have 18, 19 races, the same. So it's more or less like our calendar, and not easy for him to come every race weekend, but could be fantastic. But in any case, I message him every weekend. I need his point of view, and it's very helpful when he's here, also when he's at home.
Well, once again, you did him proud. Another amazing weekend, Pecco. Congratulations. We'll see you in Aragon in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. Grazie.
We certainly will. Of course, Valentino Rossi has a couple of opportunities potentially to come to Misano before we all head off to Asia for the flyaways. Aragon next before the Misano double, and then the flyaways begin in September. 7 wins out of 11 this season. As he points out, it's the sprints really where Jorge Martin has been able to keep that World Championship quite level pegging. But both he and Jorge Martin deserve huge credit because they appear to be really just pushing each other to higher and higher standards. And Pecco Bagnaia is now in the equal top 10 for most Premier Class wins ever. And that just is a measure of just what kind of a level he's been riding at for 3 years now.
Yeah, we can say they've got the best bike, which is true. But there's 4 of them, and those 2, like you said, are just pushing it to an extraordinary level. You know, the lap times. Everywhere we go, you know, it's helped by that Michelin rear tyre, but also by their competitiveness, you know, pushing each other along. You know, we can also blame, Ducati, for doing such a good job, but blame them for the less exciting racing. You know, they have stretched the field out, you know, with this GP24, and now they've made it kind of a race of the best GP24, and then it's the best GP23, which Mark did by a long way today. He should have been racing with the GP23s. It's a braking circuit. Mark is so good at braking. I think that's where he was making the difference. Then the best of the rest, you know, which Brad Binder deserves a shout out for. He was the best of the non-Ducatis, finishing in 5th, is it? Yes. And then Tucker, I've got to say, is, you know, because there's a race for the Japanese, and Tucker won it today. And okay, it's normally Fabio. Fabio hit the green too often and had a long lap penalty, but it's kind of settling into that. That's how the race, you know, almost where the prizes are given.
Yeah, we'll come back maybe to hundreds tomorrow. Well, let's touch upon the other manufacturers then, starting with KTM and Brad Binder in 5th place. I guess there are 2 ways of looking at it. From Brad Binder's point of view, he clearly rode very well this weekend, his best race weekend since the season opening weekend in Qatar. But for KTM, home Grand Prix, and 18 seconds behind the race winner, that's a gap they need to close.
Yes. You said the weekend went, you know, it was good for Brad, but he started in 12th. You know, qualifying did not go to plan. He was saying having some trouble front locking, which we heard a lot about this weekend, and they improved it, you know, but it was too late. He'd already done the qualifying. He'd already got the bad position, 12th, and by the time they found the improvement, and that hurt him, I think. It would have been harder for him to do better than he did. You know, it was amazing comeback. But overall, I agree. KTM are not going to be happy. Let's hope this these new parts Pole had, which the engine looked clearly quicker when we saw acceleration in the sprint between Brad and Pole in front. It looked faster, and apparently it is better in the braking area. So let's hope those bits filter through and KTM can close that gap on Ducati.
Next to the GP23s was Marco Bezzecchi. He finished behind Brad Binder in 6th. And then the first of the Aprilias, it was Maverick Vinales today, who won that race-long battle with Aleix Espargaro, who was then pipped on the final lap by Frankie Morbidelli. I guess from Aprilia's point of view, the race they expected and kind of feared, I guess, and it kind of underlines just what a good job Aleix Espargaro did yesterday.
Yes. Aprilia and Aleix told me that the Aprilia really only worked with the soft tyre this weekend. You can't use the soft tyre in the long race today, and that's why they knew they were in trouble. Yesterday, Aleix used the soft tyre and really put it to good use. Apparently, it's not just the drive off the corner, it's stopping, being able to stop, which is so important here, using the engine brake with that extra grip of the rear tyre. Aleix knew he didn't really have a chance with the medium, and they didn't. That's how it was. And then you look at Raul, we could see him spinning clearly, and it looked like he didn't finish the race. Yeah, the Aprilia didn't go to plan at all this weekend in the long race.
Yeah, Raul Fernandez retired with just over a lap to go. The Japanese manufacturers, we briefly touched upon them earlier. We can come on to them now. Fabio Quartararo, as you say, would have potentially been the leading Japanese manufactured motorcycle across the line for Yamaha, but he got that long lap penalty for exceeding track limits once too many. But were Yamaha right from the get-go expecting a bit of a tough weekend here, even by their own standards?
Yes, but Fabio's so good on the brakes. They were hoping he could do something. He's had some amazing results here in the past because of his braking, much like Mark, absolutely brilliant in the braking zone. But rear grip is also important here. Yamaha don't seem to have it at the moment, just like Honda. And they knew it was going to be tough, but Fabio thought he could get into Q2, you know, but it didn't happen, and nothing too much happened after that.
He was a tenth away from getting into Q2 on Friday, Fabio Quartararo, and as we've so often seen, once they're in Q1, they find it very, very difficult to get out of that. From a Honda point of view then, the leading Honda across the line was Taka Nakagami, and by quite a way actually, he was 4 seconds clear of the next Honda across the line, which was Joan Mir today. First of all, a superb ride from Taka Nakagami, which might not get necessarily the credit that it deserves. And also, more broadly for Honda, you spoke to Alberto Puig before the race. Aragon coming up next, but beyond that, potentially reasons for Honda fans to maybe have a little bit of optimism at what's coming down the line.
Yes, in that interview, I felt that Alberto got across how important it is at this moment when Honda are in trouble to have a Japanese rider that is as fast, that can give that feedback to the Japanese in their language. I really felt that he thought it was important to have Taka still there. I agree. And until you get the machine to a point where you can, you know, it's going to help a young rider moving up from Moto2, which it sure isn't at the moment. It'll be career ending maybe, you know. Sorry to be dramatic, but it could be like that. So I felt like he would be keen to keep Taka on the LCR, and completely new machine coming to Misano, which is exciting, you know, because they've had a real lull of just small updates, and looks like the big one's coming. When I say completely new, it'll be based on the same engine, but obviously an update engine-wise specification, but sounds like everything else, aero, chassis, the lot. So fingers crossed it works.
Honda and Yamaha, incidentally, are both going testing for a couple of days in Misano this coming week. Tuesday and Wednesday, they're going there for some private testing before the next round in Aragon. Let's look ahead to Motorland Aragon. Then we didn't go there last year. The track has since been resurfaced since we were last there in 2022. What kind of challenge will that provide for rider and motorcycle?
It is a wonderful circuit. I would even go as far as saying it's one of the best facilities in the world for motorsport, meaning the layout is amazing. It's got everything in it. And like the surface, you've said it's just been renewed. It always was great. The safety, the facilities, it's amazing. There's nothing you can really complain about. Some people don't like that it's out in the middle of nowhere. I like that. You know, I come from the countryside. So I'm looking forward to going there, and it normally gives pretty good racing because there is a chance to fight back because it flows so well. The stop-start ones, like here, normally break it up a little bit.
Yep, so that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Pecco Bagnaia will head there with a 5-point World Championship lead over Jorge Martin. Still 9 Grand Prix to go, and still plenty of twists and turns to come in this World Championship chase. If you're watching us live, the press conference is coming up very, very shortly. We're just awaiting the arrival of the top 3, so don't go anywhere. They'll be around to give further reaction to Matt Burt very, very shortly. Myself and Simon will speak to you again in a couple of weeks' time for the GoPro Grand Prix of Aragon. We will see you then.